What's good? It's your boy, KingMAC. And today, man, we just go ahead and get into it, man. Y'all read the title. I really don't even really need to explain it to y'all, for real. I'm just doing it because it's kind of in my heart. But anyway, it's just, I decided I like watching or listening to like stories, crazy stories, whether they true or not, but I mostly like the true ones, even though it might be a possibility that they're lying. But y'all read the title, y'all watch it, or again, listening to me. What? Y'all listen and watch the video with me. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe to all your friends and family. And don't forget about your pets. And without any further ado, let's get into the video. Now.
Crime! I don't have a second camera here. I'm gonna try something else. One sec. Crime! Conspiracy! Cults! Serial killers, and murder. All things that I love to consume, and I know you do too, you sick-minded, intellectual, beautiful freak. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the disappearance of Steven Stayner. And this has to be one of the craziest stories I think I've ever told on this channel. Typically, when we cover crime-related topics, it ends up with the person either being found, dead, or missing forever. However, this story has a very unique twist. It involves tragedy and heroism, and it details a story of one family just trying to live a normal life after blow after blow. So let's get into it.
Nah, hey, why is she walking like that? No, she wildin', bro. Video contains descriptions of violence and murder. I didn't read the rest of it.
Mavavi Video
We have an
Editor
ad.
is an easy tool for beginner creators like you.
Obviously, I want to address, I'm in Canada right now. I do not have my usual setup, but it's kind of cozy in here, isn't it? This is my old office, but I put all my antiquing stuff, my fun finds that I've found
Not gonna
in the
lie.
fireplace. So we have a little
Pause. Not gonna lie. I might just skip the whole part where she's talking. I'm really trying to get into the video. If y'all want to watch the video, the entire video yourselves, y'all go watch Call Me Chris. She's at 12.2 million. So if you don't know who she is, y'all should go check her out. Highly, highly recommend for stories.
apologize in advance. Let's get into it.
Play.
So who is Steven Stayner? Steven Gregory Stayner was born to parents Delbert and Kay Stayner on April 18th, 1965 in Merced, California. He had 3 sisters and 1 older brother. And the Stayner family would live a relatively normal life until December 4th, 1972, when everything would change. This family would seemingly never get any reprieve for the rest of their lives. So on Monday, December 4th, 1972, 7-year-old Steven Stayner was on his way home after school when a stranger approached him. The stranger claimed to be a man named Irvin Edward Murphy, who said that he was a church representative.
He looked like a murderer. Look at him.
If they would be willing to donate to the church. Steven said that his mother would be willing to, and this led Irvin to ask where he lives so he could get his mother's information. And when Steven told him where he lived, that's when a white Buick would pull up beside them. Steven would willingly crawl into the back seat, and this began.
See that? Pause. See that's your problem right now. What happened to stranger danger? You know what I'm saying? What happened to that? Giving out information. That's your problem.
And the traumatic tale of Steven Stayner. So once Steven was in the car, he would be driven to a cabin in Cappy's Valley, which was about half an hour northwest of Merced. And unbeknownst to his family, he would be held captive here, within proximity to his own grandfather's home. Now, it is important to know that Murphy was not working alone. He was actually working with another person, Kenneth Eugene Parnell. Kenneth was a troubled man, to say the least, having a rough youth and spending many years in prison before kidnapping Steven. When he was 5, Kenneth's father, Cecil Frederick Parnell, walked out on his mother and his 3 siblings. And following this event, Kenneth would begin a string of crimes, including car theft, arson, leading to spending many years in juvenile detention. He's just warming up at this point, just warming up. In a newspaper written about Kenneth, it says, "He has shown a peculiar tendency to search for trouble and punishment," reported Dr. Richard D. Lauenberg, a psychiatrist who examined
Lauenberg is crazy.
at the behest of the Kern County Superior Court. And Kenneth would also exhibit strange behavior throughout his life. When he was 4-year-old, he would try to remove his own teeth with his fingers, despite them not even being loose.
Why?
I can't even imagine how
What's wrong with you?
that would be. I don't even know how you do. Oh, I don't even like to think about that. I don't even like to think about that. Like, moving on. And around the age of 8 or 9, he shot himself in the abdomen and jumped off the roof of a barn onto a wooden plank with hundreds of nails sticking out of it. This guy likes pain, okay? What do you call that? What do you call that? I feel
This
like I should know
nigga's
this.
sick!
I looked it up. A masochist. He's a masochist at 9
At first,
years old.
wait, hold on.
1951,
Who
he
is?
was 20 years old. Kenneth
Hold on,
would
let
lure
me-
an 8-year-old boy with a retired
I ain't
Navy
pausing.
badge
Y'all go
he
back and
just
look at
had
it.
lying around from a thrift store, portraying himself as a police officer, which guys just love to do that. Ted Bundy did it. Who else did it? Kemper, maybe? I don't know. There's a handful of them. He would then severely SA the young boy, and he would get sentenced to 4 years in prison. But then he would escape, and then he would be brought back to serve the rest of his term. So as you can see, Kenneth was very much not well from the beginning. So it is no surprise that he would continue to be a terrible person for the years to come. Irvin had met Kenneth at a resort at Yosemite National Park, where they were co-workers. Kenneth would be a nighttime janitor, perfect job for a psycho kidnapping asshole, and it is unclear what Irvin's job exactly was. However, while working, Kenneth was able to convince Irvin to help him to abduct children so he could, quote, raise him in a religious type deal. What? I keep wanting to look to my left. I keep wanting to look over there and say, what? But you're not, what? I'm just gonna do that if I want a second angle. From now on. And when friends and family were asked to describe Irvin, they said, quote, "Those who knew him saw him as a trusting, naive, and simple-minded man." What a great description of somebody.
That's what he wants out of me.
Trusting, naive, simple-minded woman. I'd be offended, to be honest. And Kenneth clearly took advantage of Irvin, giving these qualities.
What if recording high-quality content, editing like a pro, and streaming like a star was as simple as hitting record?
Ads
With
again.
Riverside, it's just that.
And Kenneth was the one driving that
Play.
white Buick that abducted Stephen. And it was also his cabin in Kathy's Valley that Stephen was taken to. So Irvin would be left on the sidewalk when Kenneth and Stephen took off in the Buick. On the very first night that Stephen was captive, he was unfortunately essayed by Kenneth. And roughly 2 weeks later,
Bro.
he would be essayed regularly by Kenneth. Stephen obviously wanted to
Bro,
go
that
home.
is so
He's just
sad, bro.
a scared little kid at this point, and I hope these guys rot in hell for this. But his captor would tell Stephen that his parents had given him legal custody to be his parent, and that they basically just didn't want him anymore. So I can't even imagine what that would do to a little child, like psychologically.
The first night they had said they called my parents and said it was all right that I stayed the night. The second night they said that they had called them again and said that I could stay another night. Then one went out and came back and said that he went to court and got in possession of me and said that I was his.
And eventually, Kenneth would change Stephen's
Bro.
name to Dennis Gregory Parnell. And he would also enroll him into numerous schools while in captivity, just to remain normal looking to the rest of society. And Kenneth would move around California for years, and he would hold down various jobs, leaving Stephen at home alone a lot. He also would allow Stephen to drink at a very young age, and also he let Stephen freely leave whenever he really wanted to, but he would always come back. Stephen stated that he could have left at any point, really, but he just didn't know where to get help. And a random woman named Barbara Mathias lived with Stephen and Kenneth for about a year and a half while they were in a Santa Rosa area.
Hey,
At
no,
that time,
wait,
Barbara
hold up. What's with all these names? These names are crazy. Leuenberg and whatever her name was, I get it. It's the 70s. I get it, but I'm waiting for you to say bless you. And if you have, this not for you. I'm just waiting till they say bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That she had no idea what was happening and fully assumed that Kenneth and Stephen were father and son. Allegedly. And what is even more strange is that Stephen would tell interviewers that in 1975, Kenneth would instruct Barbara to lure a young boy into their car just outside Santa Rosa Boys Club. But the kidnapping attempt would be unsuccessful. Womp womp. Sounds like it's not a legend anymore, Barbara. But yeah, I find it really hard to believe that Barbara was completely clueless of what was going on between Kenneth and Stephen. Despite Stephen calling Kenneth dad, it should have been obvious by his body language that Stephen was not comfortable with Kenneth ever, and that the two were not related because they didn't look alike either. Plus, who the would be willing to go along with a kidnapping of a child just so nonchalantly, especially if the person was instructed to do so. It's in my opinion that she knew what she was doing and she knew what the was going on.
I've been told that you called him Dad. How long before you started calling him Dad? Do you have any idea when that started?
That started about a week after my abduction.
What were your thoughts during the 7 years about your parents? Did you think about them, and if so, what went through your mind?
Through the 7 years, I don't remember what went through my mind, but I thought of my parents very often.
But Stephen would have to suffer for years in captivity, traveling around with Kenneth while being violated by him regularly. It had to be just absolutely torturous and miserable. However, in early 1980, Stephen would see and take an opportunity. March 1st, 1980, 14-year-old Stephen would finally escape of the grasp of his captor and get the help he so desperately needed. But he wasn't alone. As sickening and disgusting as it sounds, Kenneth grew less interested in Stephen as time went on, almost as if he doesn't like boys.
He looks like a child predator, bro.
He's a pet.
Parnell and Stephen together realized that Stephen was growing up and that he was no longer going to be able to be controlled by Parnell. Parnell wanted another kid.
So once Stephen hit puberty, Kenneth started to go out and look for younger
bro.
boys to kidnap and basically replace
Are you
him.
serious?
As Stephen got older, Kenneth would start to use Stephen to abduct younger boys, which reminds me of a movie I really like because it was really well done with Angelina Jolie, The Changeling, which I'm wondering now, is that? No, it was based off a different case, never mind. But The Changeling, very interesting movie, similar premise. He used boys, this guy used boys to abduct other boys, and then he would like, I'm not gonna give it away, you should watch it. Anyway, let's continue. So, at this point, he's using Stephen to do what Irvin did to Stephen. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. But anyway, each time
I guess it made
was
sense.
successful because Stephen would basically purposefully sabotage the attempt every single time. Props to Stephen. And this led Kenneth to start resenting Stephen. However, in February 1980, Stephen and a friend, Randall Porman, would kidnap a 5-year-old boy named Timothy White in the city of Ukiah, California. So on the night of March 1st, Kenneth would leave for his job as night security, as he usually did. And this basically meant that Stephen and Timmy were now alone. However, as mentioned previously, this wasn't abnormal at all. It happened all the time. But Stephen would grab Timmy and they would hitchhike into nearby Ukiah, where he would try to find Timmy's house. So after searching for a while, he couldn't, so ended up going to a police station. And when questioned, Stephen would say, quote unquote, "I know my first name is Stephen." And this line would become infamous after he was brought home and the media coverage began to look into the case.
"I know my first name is Stephen."
And that became the title of a book. It became a television movie, and it made Stephen famous.
Dang, I ain't know nothing of
Years
this.
ago, a youngster in California vanished.
Everyone thought he was dead at this point. He'd rescued another boy.
This is Stephen today. He is holding 5-year-old Timothy White.
Who could make this up? Every television network, every magazine cover, every movie executive, there wasn't anyone not interested.
So on March 2nd, Parnell would be arrested from his job and be charged with abduction. And luckily, both children would be reunited with their families. And Parnell would, thank God, be convicted of 2 counts of kidnapping. So he was sentenced to 7 years and parole after 5. What? It's just not enough time. It's
What?
just
Nah.
not
Hey,
enough.
what?
He kidnapped a child.
Dog, how is he getting parole? There's no way this nigga's getting parole. Are you serious? See, I ain't trying to make it a race thing. You know what? I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. This not what this is about. This not what this is about.
Child and did awful things to him for years. I don't understand the justice system, I guess. I don't know. Because Parnell would not be charged for SA that occurred in Merced County since he was apprehended in Mendocino County, and he was outside of the statute of limitations. So I guess that makes sense, but still, kidnapping is only 7 years, especially for the length of time that he had Stephen. Like, are you kidding me? Irvin Murphy and Randall Poorman would be convicted of lesser charges for aiding in kidnapping of both children. And Stephen would recall that Murphy was extremely kind to him when he was first held captive, and told investigators that he believed that Murphy was as much a victim as he was, which, like, it's hard because I understand.
I don't care, nigga. Like, you get a sentence.
Happened to Irvin. I'm not even sure. We're not sure. Like, that it happened to Stephen. He was groomed and then made to kidnap people. So, and it's just that Stockholm syndrome. Like, when you're a child, they're so easily moldable, you know, and easy to take advantage of, unfortunately. I don't know how to feel about, like, Irvin Murphy and stuff. I do think that he was a victim, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, you gotta know what's right and wrong. You know, you see other kids not doing that.
Facts.
You think it's like
no,
good to do. But then I understand also.
He's a grown man making these decisions. I don't care what you thought was right, dog. You're a grown man that's able to make his own decisions. You are as much as much guilty as the other guy. Y'all can agree or disagree with me. I don't care. This nigga should have been there for at least. Nah, I mean, he should have been the one in there for 7 years. The other nigga should have been in there for life.
That you're horribly afraid of Kenneth, so. Anyway, but the case of Stephen Stainer is a very traumatic yet brave tale of a boy who persevered through horrible conditions while saving another from the same fate.
3 ways Google's Notebook LM helps me study for finals. First, it stores all my study materials in one place. Notes to textbooks to...
A car pulled up,
and
I got in, and they passed the road that I lived on. I had told them that was the road I lived on. They said that we'll just call your parents to see if you can stay the night.
Are you afraid?
Not that much. I was a little bit.
And the case would absolutely blow up on the news and attract lots and lots of media attention, leading to Stephen and Timmy gaining some fame. So as soon as Stephen was returned to his family, he actually began touring around the nation to different morning shows and numerous interviews in front of his family home, which I can't even imagine that. Like, after going through that as a kid still, like he's 14, and then having to do all that, like, what a nightmare. So over the past 7 years, Stephen had been living in the shadows, just yearning to escape. But now that he's free and was thrust into the spotlight, it kind of became unavoidable. And on Good Morning America, Stephen was asked if his parents had changed at all, if he recognized his siblings and things like that, all while his lawyer was present. And while it was great to have Stephen back home, he really, really struggled to get back into normal life. He was used to being an only child, first of all, so having to share a room with his brother, Carrie, and share things with his other siblings was just relatively a new concept for him. People believed that his siblings were happy to see him. However, it was believed that Carrie, his older brother, wasn't too keen on sharing a room with him.
But if you look in the background, there's something worth noting, and it's Carrie in his baseball cap. And he's not.
Bro, why you look so pressed?
He was absolutely ostracized by his peers. Not only because cameras constantly surrounded him, but the public knew that he
did something.
Taken advantage of by an old freak. So his peers would question his sexuality and even infer that he enjoyed it. Like, kids are so cruel, and I know it was like a different time. I mean, kids still do that even now, but oh my god, like, I can't even imagine the life that life is insane.
Not gonna lie, this not funny. I'm gonna say this in advance. This is not funny. But bro, if he shot up to school one day because they making fun of this nigga's sexuality, bro, I wouldn't put it against him. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't even put it against him because this nigga been through it for 7 years.
So sympathy goes out to him and his family and everything. Like, I can't even imagine. This would obviously cause Steven to drop out of high school and start drinking, leading to a very strained relationship with his father, who would inevitably kick him out of his home. And in an interview with Newsweek, Steven told reporters that his father would refuse to
Wait, hold on. I missed that.
leading to a very strained relationship with his father, who would inevitably kick him out of his home. And in an interview with Newsweek, Steven told reporters that his father would refuse to hug him once he was home and that the cameras were away, which is so sad.
Are you serious?
After losing your child for 7 years, you'd show a little bit of compassion. But his father is almost as much as a heartless monster as Parnell, in my opinion. Steven
What's wrong with this nigga's family?
Almost a grown man, and yet my parents saw me at first as their 7-year-old. After they stopped trying to teach me the fundamentals all over again, it got better. But why doesn't my dad hug me anymore? I guess 7 years changed him too. It's so sad. So Steven would continue dealing with reporters and cameras for years and years after the trials. But in 1985, he would get married to a 17-year-old named Jody Edmondson, and he would have 2 children, Steven Jr. and Ashley. His family would live in Merced, California, the place where he was abducted, and he would work at a pizza shop. And on the side, Steven would work with a child abduction group, basically, to aid in the search for missing children and prevent more from disappearing. So basically, he's a saint. However, on September 16th, 1989, home from work, Steven's motorcycle would collide with Antonio Larray's car, and it would kill him almost instantly. So once again, the Stainer family would lose their child in another tragic event. Except this time, it was not only his parents who lost a son, it was siblings who lost a brother, a wife who lost a husband, and 2 children who lost a father. And shortly before he died in 1989, a 2-part miniseries would be released with the title No, My Name is Steven. And the plot would detail Steven's entire story, including him getting abducted, to him arriving at the police station with Timmy White, and so on. And following his death, a book would be written by author Mike Eccles of the exact same name. So all this media would basically immortalize Steven and his story. However, the city of Merced wanted to honor him even further. So in 2010, the city would reveal a large bronze statue with Steven standing holding Timmy White's hand, leading him away from the cabin. Steven's story was heroic and tragic at the same time, and the statue will forever remind passerbys of his struggles and his yearning for a normal life. But most of the attention that Steven was receiving was leaving these siblings feeling neglected by their parents. I mean, he had been missing for 7 years, so it's not unimaginable that the parents would put all this attention on him when he came back after being abducted. While his other siblings would be able to deal with it, Carrie, on the other hand, would not, and he would grow incredibly spiteful and then gain some of his own media attention in the years to come. And this is where the crazy twist of events comes in. While Steven's story was abruptly ended by tragedy, Carrie, the lesser-known Stainer brother, was about to write his own, one far darker than anyone else could have ever imagined.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop right here. This is the halfway mark, and listen, it's finna get juicy, right? Man, this is crazy already. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and share to all your friends and family, and don't forget about your pets. And if y'all want to see more, I want to get this video up to 10 likes. 10 likes. Okay, I know that is easy. I'm not asking for a lot. So I want this video to get to 10 likes. If you get to 10 likes, I'll put a part 2 up here. And yeah, I'll catch y'all in the next one.